some people believe there was some type of conspiracy at play to relieve Sergey Kovalev of his world titles, no matter what took place in that ring on Saturday night. They call into question the fact that there was free American judges instead of neutral officials. They call into question the fact that the judges all had the fight scored the exact same way. They also question the refereeing, so on and so forth. Here's my view on it, and here's my explanation as to why I don't think it was some type of conspiracy. First of all, it would take an incredible amount of collusion for all three judges to come up with the same scorecard and only have Ward winning by 1 point. If you're going through a fight, watching it round by round, in order to have the exact same scores for all three judges in a competitive fight, where, you know, things can happen between round by round and only have it toward by 1 point. I mean, the amount of conferring they would have been having to do is just ridiculous. So that's the first thing. Secondly, in a close fight, I don't see how you can call it a robbery no matter who it goes to. Because it was a close fight. If you don't think this was a close fight, then I think there's something wrong with you. There was a lot of close rounds which were swing rounds and could have gone either way. So you can't call a close fight a robbery unless you have scorecards which did not reflect at all the action in the ring. For example, if somebody had scored it to Andre Ward 118-109, then obviously that's a problem. If the judges were coming up with scorecards like that, that is an indication that something is not above board there. And that happens a lot with Canelo scorecards, for example, where he'll be in a close fight and all of a sudden the judges read out, the announcer reads out the scorecards and the judges have all got it to Canelo by like 8-9 rounds. That's when there's a problem. Yeah. Another thing, people don't like the fact the judges all had the same scores, but yet you've got people at ringside, neutral people. Forget about the HBO team. Forget about Kathy Duva. Forget about all these people who don't like Andre Ward, for example, or the people who don't like Kovalev. Forget about all them. Look at the neutrals, the Sky team, Matthew Macklin, Adam Smith, Paulie Malignaggi. These people, Eddie Hearn, these people all had Andre Ward winning. Eddie Hearn had the exact same scorecard as the three judges had it. So if there is a conspiracy to dethrone Sergey Kovalev of his titles, then were all those people I just mentioned part of the conspiracy? Had they all been paid off to score the fight for Andre Ward no matter what happened? Had Eddie Hearn been paid off? Does Eddie Hearn need the money that badly that he's going to take backhanders to score a fight, unofficially in favor of a particular fighter? Does that sound plausible to you? People are talking about Eddie Hearn making a case for one of his fighters who got a gift decision the other week and saying, oh, well, how can you trust Eddie Hearn? Look at him trying to defend a gift decision one of his fighters got just the other weekend. Yeah, but he had an investment. He had a horse in the race. He's not Andre Ward's promoter. He's totally neutral when it comes to Andre Ward. So yes, you can question his scoring of a fight involving one of his fighters. But look at the Sky team. Did they concur with Eddie Hearn when he thought his fighter won the other week? No, they didn't. The Sky team all thought that his fighter had lost and said so openly. Yeah? Jamie McDonald, they all thought he'd lost. Eddie Hearn was the only one saying that he won. So yeah, he's got a bias there because that's his fighter, just as Kathy Duva would have a bias for Kovalev because that's her fighter. But in the case of Andre Ward, Eddie Hearn don't have a horse in the race. He was just a neutral observer. He ain't taking backhanders from any. You don't need no back. The guy's a multimillionaire. If it's not involving his fighters, he don't need a backhander to say that somebody won on his unofficial ringside scorecard. Nonsense. Same with the rest of the Sky team. Rather than this idea that there was some type of conspiracy to dethrone Sergey Kovalev, which I simply just do not believe, a more plausible explanation is that the fight had a lot of swing rounds, a lot of rounds where there was not much clean punching from either man, and therefore a lot of rounds could have gone either way. And that would explain, that's a very obvious, logical explanation as to why opinion on the scoring of the fight is so divided in terms of who people thought actually won. Because there was loads of swing rounds. I mean, you look at the CompuBox stats, and in most of the rounds, I mean, CompuBox is not exactly accurate, first and foremost, but even if you do look at CompuBox, the difference in terms of punches landed for the majority of the rounds was like 1 or 2 punches difference in virtually all the rounds. That's how damn close the fight was. 1 or 2 punches difference in most of the rounds in terms of punches landed. I think in the entire fight, Kovalev landed what? They say 10 more punches in the whole fight? This fight was razor close, people. It's not like somebody was going in there and, outscoring the other guy by 50, 60, 70% around. It wasn't happening like that. It was nip and tuck for the most of the way. And therefore, you're going to get these kind of widely different views on who they thought won. Some people think Kovalev, some people thought Ward. And I've said this all along. I've been saying this. If you think that Sergey Kovalev won the fight, I've got no problem with that. All I've got a problem with is the people calling it a robbery. How can it be a robbery when the fight was so nip and tuck? It's not a robbery. Yeah. If it was a robbery, I can understand if the scorecards were, as I said before, massively in Ward's favor, like 118, 109 or whatever. Then you could say, okay, that's a robbery. Even though the fight was close, it could have gone either way. The scorecards show that the fix was in. But these scorecards didn't show the fix was in. In many fights, the judges all have the same scores. And correct scores at that. Because this fight, Ward-Kovalev, really was a tale of two halves. I thought Andre Ward, in my view at least, dominated. I mean, I don't want to say he dominated the rounds because it was nip and tuck, but he picked up most of his rounds. Let's just put it that way. Most of the rounds which I gave to Andre Ward were in the second half of the fight, and I was struggling to find reasons to give rounds. Even though they're close, I was struggling to find reasons to give them to Kovalev. He just wasn't, Ward was just doing a little bit more every round than Kovalev was in the second half of the fight. Yeah, that's what I saw. And so, a close fight, but basically Kovalev faded down the stretch. That's what happened. Ward came into it, Kovalev faded down the stretch. That allowed Ward to get punches off on the inside and break out of the clinches and start hitting Kovalev in the body and all that kind of stuff. It was what it was. A close fight could have gone either way. That's fine. But a robbery, people, let's not be silly. And I really do have to go back to the whole selection of the judges and all that type of stuff. Team Kovalev was happy with it before the fight. Remember, Kovalev was the champion. He was in the driving seat. If there was something he was not happy with pre-fight, then they should have pulled out of the fight and cancelled it and said, you know what, Ward, you ain't getting no title shot. Simple as that. Yeah, but they clearly were happy with it because they went ahead with it. So, I don't know. Let me know how you feel, people, with your divided opinions. If you really believe this was a robbery, that this was a conspiracy to dethrone Sergey Kovalev, explain to me why there are so many neutral observers. Neutral now. Yeah, not people that are promoters of Kovalev or promoters of Ward. Neutral people. Explain to me why there are so many neutral people who had Ward winning. Explain why there are so many neutral people who actually said, you know what? I thought Kovalev won, but it could have gone either way. Because Jesse Vargas has said that. Go look at Jesse Vargas's interview. He was ringside for the fight. He said, I think Kovalev maybe won by a round, but it was very close. It could have gone either way. Even Abel Sanchez, we know Abel Sanchez is not a big fan of Andre Ward. And he said, look, I thought Kovalev won, but it was a very close fight. And I could understand them giving it to Ward by a point. Yeah, that's plausible to me. And this is Abel Sanchez, a guy who never seems to say anything good about Andre Ward. Yeah, you need to explain to me why all these people, neutral people, are saying it was a close fight which could have gone either way, and many of them are saying Ward won. If it's a conspiracy against Kovalev, and that there's no way that Ward won the fight and it was a robbery, you wouldn't get all these neutral people, or even these people who don't like Ward, coming out saying it was close or coming out saying Ward won. Yeah, so enough of all the robbery talk. It's just nonsense. It is what it is. Drop your comments in the comment section below. It's your boy Hatman. I'm out.